These all plants?
People still read.
Yeah. Thank Buddha that they still read. Thank you for writing a book so people can read it.
Yeah.
My documents. Little Vietnamese on the top here. You want to explain yourself?
Yeah, it's a
why you trying
diacritic.
to trick people into the title here?
Well, it's a Vietnamese word, actually. It's pronounced me, and it's more like if you're Vietnamese, there's like a little bonus for you.
It's a little Easter egg here.
Little Easter egg.
And the rest of us, we just look stupid saying my documents all the time. Right? And you're just laughing to yourself every time I say my. and this is in reference to.
Oh yeah,
America.
It's the Vietnamese word for America.
Right.
So,
right.
You think it's just a reference to like Windows 95.
Right. Yeah, and what you want to explain what the book is about?
Sure.
Summarize it.
It imagines this like far-fetched dystopian future where the government is detaining people for no reason.
Okay.
I've completely imagined this.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you say that, but you did imagine this because you wrote this came out earlier this year.
Came out earlier this year.
And so you wrote it. I think you started writing in 2018.
2018. Right? Yeah. Actually, I was writing this. I came up with this idea in the throes of the first Trump administration, and Trump had evoked even back then the Alien Enemies Act, which is basically like the threadbare piece of legislation that allowed FDR to incarcerate Japanese Americans during World War II. So I just kind of imagined, like, what if it happened again today? And because I'm Vietnamese, I made it happen to Vietnamese people.
Right. And what's the outcome? Is it good? Or?
It's not great. Yeah.
It's not great?
Yeah, they don't love it.
What made you, in the book, it's a real, I did read it. It's like an exploration. It's a real.
Yeah, see like the little.
I put little notes
dog
in there.
tags and your dog ears.
Just to make you believe me. See, look, I wrote. See, look, that's like pencil markings here.
Yeah, see.
No, but I'll get to some of the structural things in this book, which I find very interesting. Whatever. I'll say before I forget. Like one thing that's interesting about this book is that the chapters kind of get shorter and shorter the more you get into it. And I was wondering, like, did you do that for like a dumbass TikTok generation? Because I gotta tell you, I hate to admit it, but the shorter chapters kind of made it like, oh, I can sneak another chapter in there, and it's like watching a book reel. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it's partly a way to make a book propulsive is to shorten the chapters.
Right.
An original version was like 100,000 words, and I sent it to my agent, and she was like, you got to make this shorter. And the next version I sent her was like 150,000 words. So the one you get to read today is closer to 80, so it's like much more reasonable.
Yeah, and it's still a complete story. I don't know what you took out from the 120,000 word version, but and it's kind of intense, man, because it goes. You open on this very personal story about it's based in reality about, I assume, the grandmother character here who was fleeing Vietnam. And it's her experience, you really write from her perspective, kind of.
It's loosely based on some family lore, and then it goes in its own direction. But I don't know, it's just this interesting thing where thematically, it's about what happens when you don't learn your own history.
Sure.
A bit of the foundation of this is, I didn't learn about Japanese American incarceration until I got to college. I took a course about it, and I think in middle school I did an entire year about World War II, and what happened to Japanese Americans didn't come up even once, not even for an afternoon. And I remember being so embarrassed about that, but also, if your education system will not tell you these stories, how are you supposed to find them out? And then, similar, like my parents are immigrants. They fled during the Vietnam War. There are certain stories like they won't tell me or didn't tell me for a long time, which is their right, But at what point, like, are we as a younger generation supposed to be curious about that? What happens when we aren't curious about that? So the book is about 4 young people who I think in a way start very incurious and are forced to become curious about their history.
Sure. And you're drawing direct parallels between the Vietnamese refugee experience and the fictional future.
Yeah, the fictional future that hasn't arrived yet.
That hasn't arrived yet.
The government is just disappearing people for no reason, for their political beliefs. I'm glad we're so far from that.
Yeah,
it's just all of
this is like sci-fi. It's almost unbelievable.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's even easy for you to talk about, because I was reading this book, and you're not named in this book. You are writing work of fiction, I think, but I just reading, I was like, oh, this dude is working through some shit right here because the stuff you're going through, like, I feel like a lot of Asian people go through. I mean, not even necessarily Asian Americans. This idea of like you start off, even me in Malaysia, we start off like kind of not knowing much about the history of what happened there. Mm-hmm. You kind of almost reject it in a way for whatever reason. Maybe it's because you're kind of, trying to be like you're more a fan of Americana culture, so you're trying to like focus on that. You're geeking out on American stuff, so maybe you ignore whatever cultural history you have. Whatever the reason is, I'm just saying that we all have this weird journey where we ignore it most of our lives, and then everyone hits their 20s, and then everyone goes to college, and then they get this like, oh, what the hell is going on in Asia? And then you start to read up more about it on your own, and then you're like, oh man, I haven't been connected to this. So I feel like...
Yeah, I think when people are young, and maybe this is just us, but you want to fit in, right? And so just like learning about your individual history is not an appealing prospect. And yeah, like when you say like I'm working through some shit, like, I don't know, have you tried to find a therapist lately? It's like impossible. It's just way easier to write 100,000 words of fiction.
Right. No, I don't look for therapists. I'm trying to monetize this mental illness as long as I can. That's all this is, honestly.
Comedy.
Yeah. And look how far it got me. So therapy, yeah. You guys you don't know what you're cheering for right there. You're cheering for no therapy. But yeah, so I mean, in this book, you also kind of mock this idea of AAPI in America, this AAPI voting bloc that was created. I mean, I don't think I'm giving anything away, but there's
kind of started as a joke for myself when I was writing. The piece of legislation that sends all Vietnamese people to camp is called the American Advanced Protections Initiative, which, the acronym is AAPI. And I think even like as we got closer to publishing, I was like, is that like too on the nose? Is that not funny? Would the right wing really go after like acronyms of all things?
Right.
And then as it was coming out, like Trump just wouldn't say a single sentence without muttering DEI.
Right.
So.
Right. And so, and I mean, that brings us to what I find interesting about this book is that you kind of, you're not tackling it from this kind of traditional left progressive. You're trying to be really nuanced with the views in it, I think. Like even this AAPI thing where you mock it. I mean, for me, sometimes I find it like weird, like, what do you mean AAPI month? Like, I'm Asian all year, you know what I mean? Like, well, I don't know what we get this month, and like, it's kind of condescending in a way sometimes when they're like, oh yeah, we got here's the Asian comics, let's trot out these people who couldn't make it on the, any other platform. And it's like, well, at what point does, like this kind of diversity thing become token and condescending and,
Yeah, I mean, the worst part, I think, our month is May, right? So, like, we lead right into Pride Month, which is, like, clearly the better month.
Right.
Like, it's just so much more fun, We're just, like, doing, like, dumpling making classes. And then, like, Pride has, like, a whole parade in, like, every city.
So where do you stand on that, Because this API month as a voting bloc in America, it's like, one of the lines in this book is you go, like, one of the only things that seems to, unfortunately, unite Asian Americans is racism. As in, people being racist to us.
I mean, I just think that, like, even though some people might think, like, you and I look alike,
but
we don't. Our language is different, our food's different.
Back in the old country, we hate each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But here, we're, like, forced to unite against...
I know. Well, we're just, like, grinning through it, right? Yeah. We do hate each other.
Yeah, we hate each other, and then now... But here, I'm forced to put you on my show, and then you're forced to, You're forced to write a book about it, and then we all... Yeah.
They wouldn't put me on during, like, a Josh Johnson week.
Yeah, right? Yeah, so, I mean, where do you stand on that in America, Like, this...
At the same time, like, I think there is strength and solidarity, but sometimes in that, I think we lose the individuality. My day job, I work as a journalist, and then, like, on the side, I write novels, and I think about, like, the goals of each thing, even though they are both ostensibly writing. I think in journalism, you try and take like a lot of muddy ideas and try to clarify it for the reader. And I think a powerful thing you can do in fiction is you can take assumptions or things people thought were clear and muddy it up. And so I think like in terms of Asian American identity, that's something that the book really challenges and muddies up a lot.
And what's I guess you don't give away the conclusion. Is there a conclusion to that? I mean, it's.
I don't think there's like a strong takeaway. You know, it's not. The point of the book is not abolish the phrase AAPI.
Right.
But I do think we should challenge it, and we should really think about individually what it means to be Asian American, or if that's even a useful term anymore.
Sure. And as someone who spent a lot of time, like you spent basically, I think you wrote this for 5 years.
Yeah.
Thinking about this scenario, thinking about the history of Asian Americans, and unfortunately, the book kind of is catching up to reality now. Like, where do you? I mean, what do you have a takeaway for what we? Can you fix everything, please? Please fix it.
The answer is really, it's actually on the last page of the book. So you'll just have to go buy the book and then see what's in for us. No, I don't think there are like strong takeaways. When I started writing it, I was like, I did want the book to be really grounded in reality. A lot of the forces that are at play, we've been living under the Department of Homeland Security for 2 decades. Some people act like ICE just emerged during this second Trump term. It's been with us for a very long time. We have this history of Japanese American incarceration. We have the legacy of the Vietnam War. And ICE has been detaining migrants. They've detained millions of migrants over the past decade. Like, what's happening right now has escalated, but it is not new. And so I think the goal of the book was to kind of draw like a line between all of these things. They seem like disparate forces in America, but I think they're actually all quite part of American history.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess your hope by writing this is, I mean, sorry if this is a hacky question, but that you get asked a lot, but like what do you hope people take away from this? I mean,
I was just trying to avoid therapy, but I don't know. I think it's.
Well, now you put it on us,
yeah.
So now we all need therapy after reading this.
No, I mean, the book is about a family that like muddles through or struggles and survives through this scenario. So I think there is something kind of hopeful about that. It's about challenging the assumptions of your life and your family story and your family history, and how we connect after that.
Right. Well, hey, thanks for contributing to trying to get people to read again. I really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time to write a book and putting your own history into it. I think, if nothing else, I hope people can get. I think it's nice that you put in the story of Vietnamese refugees in there at the start. It's very touching. It's very heartfelt. The very first chapter got me sucked in already. So thanks for sharing that, and thanks for writing the book, and thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ronny.
My document, the novel, is available now. It's Kevin Nguyen, everybody.